Not that this will come as a surprise to anyone who's been listening for a while, but the Apocrypha really sucks.
And in my mother's womb was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months, being compacted in blood of the seed of man.
That's right.
Of the seed of man.
The word seed is sperm, and sperm comes through having sex.
It's shut out of your father's rod,
right.
Put it in layman terms, in his penis.
That's right.
That means a man put his penis in a woman and bust off in it.
Then the angel said to him, "Take out the entrails of this fish, and lay up his heart, and his gall, and his liver for thee. For these are necessary for useful medicines."
The rest of the chapters of the book of Esther,
Go ahead.
which are found neither in the Hebrew nor in the Chaldee.
Greetings, fellow worker slaves, podcasting at 128 kilobits from the Fortress of Squalitude. This is the Atheist in the Trailer Park podcast. I'm your host, Tucker. Professor Fuzznuts is angrily got his back turned towards me because I haven't been giving him attention for the past 30 seconds, and Buttons is curled up asleep on the printer. Yes, it's a podcast hosted by a guy and his cats. Get over it. This is a Biblical Apocrypha episode where I read a book or two from the Biblical Apocrypha. For all of you wondering why I couldn't put out a regular episode last week, here's why. It looked like I was going to have someone coming over to visit me in the Fortress of Squalitude on Saturday, which means that I had to do some pretty intensive cleaning of the place. Literally every moment I wasn't asleep or at work, I was cleaning the house, trying to get it to be at least somewhat presentable. Naturally, that made things kind of hectic for me, but then things got even worse. On Friday, near the end of my shift, they called me into the office and said that they were letting me go because they, quote, don't have any work for you, unquote. Naturally, I wanted to know what they might have meant by that. I couldn't get a straight answer out of them. They also didn't have any paperwork for me like they should have, regardless of if I was laid off or fired. They claimed that they would be mailing it to me, and until I get it, I can't file for unemployment. Assuming I was laid off and not fired. If I was fired, I don't get to draw unemployment, though I can technically contest it and possibly get it simply because the fact that they have no documentation on me doing a poor job. I have no write-ups. My attendance is better than most people's there, so logically, they don't have a justification for firing me, though it is a no rights at work state, so they can possibly weasel around it. It all, again, depends on how they fill that paperwork out. If they put that I was incapable of doing my job, I've got them because they have no documentation saying I was incapable of doing my job. If, however, they come up with some other excuse, I may not be able to do that. All just depends. And I know what you're thinking. Why didn't you badger them until they told you what was going on? Well, as you can imagine, being told out of the blue that you don't have a job isn't conducive to putting me in a good mood. And I wasn't about to make a huge scene because I needed to keep my head clear. Additionally, they had someone in the office who was neither management nor HR when they let me go. This, I'm reasonably certain, is a violation of my privacy. If I get unemployment, then I'm probably not going to make a stink about it. But if I don't get unemployment, then I'm going to be talking to a lawyer and or the Department of Labor about the matter. It was also kind of good that I didn't stick around and have an argument with them over this. On the way home, one of the guys I sometimes catch a ride with into work in the morning stopped and picked me up. I told him what happened to me, and he said that he'd try and get me a job where he works. We'll see how it goes. As you can imagine, I will be spending tomorrow and the coming days trying to find another job. Financially, if I get unemployment, I'll be fine until I'm able to get another job. Things will be tight, especially since it can take 2 weeks for me to actually be able to draw unemployment once I file. but I should be able to squeak by. If I don't get unemployment, then I'm in real trouble. Buttons is scheduled to be neutered on the 24th, and that's going to eat into my cash reserves. I don't really like the idea of rescheduling it because I've no idea when she's going to go into heat. And I'd like to get her fixed before she gets knocked up, as you can imagine. Even if I reschedule Button's appointment, things are going to be tough. I have some money in the bank, but that won't last more than a couple of weeks, and paying rent next month will be almost impossible. Hopefully it won't take me too long to find a job, or I'll be able to get unemployment. We just have to see. Now, as bleak as all that might sound, I've got to say that the second book I read in this episode is even worse. It starts off as well as just about any of these things do, and then just turns into such awful repetitive nonsense that I gave up on it, as you will hear. So, let's get to the Apocrypha. Letter of Jeremiah. A copy of an epistle which Jeremy... Really? They're being so informal. Sent unto them which were led to be captives into Babylon by the king of the Babylonians, to certify them as it was commanded him of God, because of the sins which ye have committed before God, ye shall be led away by captives into Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar. And this is yet again a weird, bizarre alternative spelling for Nebuchadnezzar. This is Nebuchadonnosor, king of the Babylonians. So when ye be come unto Babylon, ye shall remain there many years. Nice predictive powers, Eric, dude. I mean, you would think if God was going to tell you that, yes, we're taking the people and we're going to send them over here and they're going to be there for years, he would put a specific number on those years so that it would be easier to verify that indeed God was telling the truth and they were making it was a prediction. But I guess that's too hard for God. And for a long season, namely 7 generations. Ooh, that's kind of specific, but not really, because how do you define a generation? Some people do 20 years, some people do 40 years. Some people split the difference and say 30 years. And I'm sure others have a different value for it. And after that, I will bring you away peaceably from thence. Hang on. Let's just see how long they were in captivity, because I forget. Well, according to the Googles, it was 70 years. So they're defining generation as 10 years, which seems a little low to me. And after that, I will bring you away peaceably from thence. Now shall ye see in Babylon gods of silver, and of gold, and of wood, borne upon shoulders, which cause the nations to fear. Beware, therefore, that ye in no wise be like to strangers. Neither be ye and of them, when ye see the multitude before them and behind them worshipping them. So I guess don't try to be Jewish and worship these other guys. But say ye in your hearts, O Lord, we must worship thee. For mine angel is with you, and I myself caring for your souls. As for their tongue, it is polished by the workmen, and they themselves are gilded and laid over with silver, yet they are but false, and cannot speak. Okay. God doesn't really seem to speak a lot. Talks to people who then tell everybody what he said, but doesn't generally show up and say, I'm God, and this is what you gonna do. In taking gold, as if it were for a virgin that loveth to go gay, that's different. They make crowns for the heads of their gods. Sometimes also the priests convey from their gods gold and silver, and bestow it upon themselves. Really? Only sometimes? Knowing religion, I'm pretty sure they all do it. Constantly. Yea, they will give thereof to the common harlots. Woohoo! And deck them as men with garments. Being gods of silver and gods of gold and wood. Yet cannot these gods save themselves from rust and moth, though they be covered with purple raiment? They wipe their faces because of the dust of the temple when there is much upon them. Well, I'm reasonably certain that the Jewish temple had a lot of dust in it as well, and had to be swept regularly. And he that cannot put to death one that offendeth him holdeth a scepter, as though he were a judge of the country. He hath also in his right hand a dagger and an axe, but cannot deliver himself from war and thieves. Well, that kind of happened, the same thing kind of happened with the Jews and the temple, because it got sacked and destroyed, whereby they are known not to be gods, therefore fear them not. Well, you shouldn't fear any god because they don't exist. For like as a vessel that a man useth is nothing worth when it is broken, well, that depends on the vessel, even so it is with their gods. Their gods are broken? When they be set up in the temple, their eyes be full of dust through the feet of them that come in. And as the doors are made sure on every side upon him that offendeth the king, as being committed to suffer death, even so the priests make fast their temples with doors, with locks and bars, lest their gods be spoiled with robbers. That also happened at the temple in Jerusalem, and happens at churches today. So this is really a bad argument. They light them candles, yea, more than for themselves, whereof they cannot see one. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. They are as one of the beams of the temple, yet they say their hearts are gnawed upon by things creeping out of the earth, and when they eat them and their clothes, they feel it not. That's just weird. So are they like eating worms? I don't know. Their faces are blackened through the smoke that cometh out of the temple. Upon their bodies and heads sit bats, swallows, and birds, and the cats also. Swallows are birds, I want to point out. I guess this is speaking out against bringing animals into the temple. By this ye may know that they are no gods, therefore fear them not. I don't understand. Notwithstanding the gold that is about them to make them beautiful, except they wipe off the rust, gold does not rust, that's one of the reasons why it's so valuable. They will not shine, for neither when they were molten did they feel it. So, if you put God in a hot furnace, he'll feel it, and he can be melted down. The things wherein there is no breath are brought for a most high price. Well, that's true of a lot of religious places, including the Temple of Jerusalem. Well, if you'll recall, the other books in the Apocrypha talked about all the silver and gold which was in the temple that was either hidden or given to the Jews at the end of the Babylonian captivity. The things wherein there is no breath are bought for a most high price. They are borne upon shoulders, having no feet, whereby they declare unto men that they be nothing worth. Gotta get less, footless. They also that serve them are ashamed, for if they fall to the ground at any time, they cannot rise up again of themselves. Neither, if one set them upright, can they move of themselves. Neither, if they be bowed down, can they make themselves straight, but they set gifts before them as unto dead men. Well, now, okay, if you remember Exodus, there was whole issues about people treating the Ark of the Covenant correctly, and you couldn't allow it to be set down on the ground. And you had to set up this elaborate temple every time you made camp. And every time you broke camp, you had to tear that temple down and then cart it along. And as is described in Exodus, it would have taken longer to set up and tear the temple down than they would have been able to move during the day or the night. Yeah. As for the things that are sacrificed unto them, their priests sell and abuse. Well, that's standard for any religious organization. In like manner, their wives lay up part thereof in salt, but unto the poor and impotent they give nothing of it. Have you met Joel Osteen? Just asking. Menstruous women and women in childhood eat their sacrifices. By these things ye may know that they are no gods. Fear them not. That makes literally no... The only way that is a viable argument against this group is if you actually believe the offerings made in the Jewish temple were burnt and sent up to God. Reality is they were barbecues for the priests. How can they be called gods? Because women set meat before the gods of silver, gold, and wood? And the priests sit in the temples, having their clothes rent and their heads and beards shaven, and nothing upon their heads. Scandal! They roar and cry before their gods, as men do at the feast when one is dead. The priests also take off their garments and clothe their wives and children. So the priests go around naked and the women are dressed? That's weird. Whether it be evil that one doeth unto them, or good, they are not able to recompense it. They can neither set up a king nor put him down. Well, I'm all for the separation of church and state, so I'm not seeing a problem there. In like manner, they can neither give riches nor money. Though a man make a vow unto them and keep it not, they will not require it. That makes no sense. They can save no man from death, neither deliver the weak from the mighty. They cannot restore a blind man to his sight, nor help any man in his distress. Well, same is true of Jehovah. They can shew no mercy to the widow, nor do good to the fatherless. Their gods of wood, and which are overlaid with gold and silver, are like the stones that be hewn out of the mountain. They that worship them shall be confounded. How should a man then think and say that they are gods? Even the Chaldeans themselves dishonor them. Obviously, the Jews didn't exactly honor God because there's all these things saying, well, you've done this and you've done that, and that's terrible, and that's why you're being punished. Who, if they shall see one dumb that cannot speak, they bring him, and entreat Bel that he may speak, as though he were able to understand. Well, how many miracles has your God actually done? Huh?
I don't do miracles. They're too flashy, and they upset the natural balance.
No miracles, huh? I knew it.
Oh, maybe now and then just to keep my hand in. The last miracle I did was the 1969 Mets. Before that, I think you have to go back to the Red Sea. That was a beauty.
Yet they cannot understand this themselves and leave them, for they have no knowledge. Neither do you. The women also with cords about them, sitting in the ways, burn brand for perfume. But if any of them, drawn by some that passeth by, lie with him, she reproacheth her fellow that she was not thought as worthy as herself, nor her cord broken. No idea what the hell that means. Maybe there was a little dude, dude had a little dick. No clue. Whatsoever is done among them is false. How may it then be thought or said that they are gods? Well, there are no gods, so, they are made of carpenters and goldsmiths. They can be nothing else than the workmen will have them to be. Well, your God is nothing more than what storytellers have him be. And I know that at least in modern times, because I've been in a synagogue, they have a thing hanging from the ceiling, at least the synagogue that I was in, and it kind of looked like a giant, it was about the size of a basketball, as I recall, but it looked like a sculpture of a dead spider hanging from the ceiling, and we're all like, what the hell is that? And they gave some kind of convoluted explanation for it, but basically it was like, well, we got to have something to represent God, and we can't make an image of God, and we can't really have anything that actually represents God, so we have this thing which is, symbolic. I think they were kind of suggesting it was symbolic of the pillar of fire that guided the Jews out of Egypt. So, and that's, I don't know if that's the only synagogue I've been in, but I think so. And if that's the case, that's, if it's common throughout them, then obviously, they do have graven images. They just do the whole rule lawyer thing and say, oh, well, it's not really a graven image and it's not really a representation of God. It's just this abstract piece of art that helps us think of God. And they themselves that made them can never continue long. How should then the things that are made of them be gods? Well, even the rabbis and the priests don't continue long. At this period of time. If you were 30 or 40, you were an old man. For they left lies and reproaches to them that come after. For when there cometh any war or plague upon them, the priests consult with themselves where they may be hidden with them. Well, that's kind of what happens everywhere, really. How then cannot men perceive that they be no gods, which can neither save themselves from war nor from plague? Well, your God didn't exactly do a great job keeping you out of Babylon, I might add. Oh, that's right, this is victim-blaming time. The reason you're in Babylon is because you were bad people and must be punished by being raped, murdered, and enslaved. For seeing they be but of wood, and overlaid with silver and gold, it shall be known hereafter that they are false. And it shall manifestly appear to all nations and kings that they are no gods, but the works of men's hands, and that there is no work of God in them. Well, let's just go throw out the thing that I used to say when I was a kid. Still a believer. That, somebody would say that we owe God everything and up for everything, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, God didn't do this for, me, like, I had a job and I went and did, made money or whatever. And their response would be, yes, but God gave you the brain and the body and the ability to do it, so you owe God for that. Which really didn't seem very good logic to me because, I was doing all the hard work, but that's neither here nor there. If that is true that, God made you and therefore, no matter who you are, well, then anything you do has the work of God in it. Who then may not know that they are no gods? For neither can they set up a king in the land, nor give rain unto men. Neither can yours. Neither can they judge their own cause, nor redress a wrong, being unable, for they are as crows between heaven and earth. They're flying. Well, that's pretty cool. Which would be more than your God could do. Whereupon, when fire falleth upon the house of gods of wood, or laid over with gold and silver, their priests will flee away and escape. Well, that's kind of what your guys did. But they themselves shall be burned asunder like beams. And, these guys don't actually think of the statues as being gods. They're merely representations of the gods who are elsewhere. But you know that. Moreover, they cannot withstand any king or enemies. How can it then be thought or said that they be gods? Well, you guys didn't exactly withstand the king of Babylon. Neither are those gods of wood and laid over with gold or silver able to escape either from thieves or robbers. All the shit in your temple didn't necessarily escape either. Whose gold and silver and garments wherewith they are clothed, they that are strong take and go away with all. Neither are they able to help themselves. So, this guy is claiming that, oh yeah, people rob the temples, take the statues, and wear the clothing of the statue. Probably didn't happen all that often. I'm reasonably certain that if you saw some dude wearing your god's clothing, you'd probably want to kill that son of a bitch if you didn't think he was actually your god. Could be wrong. But, they were pretty violent and bloody back then. Therefore, it is better to be a king that sheweth his power. You mean like going to Babylon or Jerusalem and smashing the place and taking everybody back to Babylon? Or else a profitable vessel in a house, which the owner shall have use of, than such false gods, or to be a door in an house, yes, it says an house, to keep such things therein, than such false gods, or a pillar of wood in a palace, than such false gods. So you're better off being a stick. For sun, moon, and stars, being bright and sent to do their offices, are obedient. So this seems to indicate a personification of the sun, moon, and stars. Anthropomorphication. That's what the word I'm looking for. In like manner, the lightning, when it breaketh forth, is easy to be seen, and after the same manner the wind bloweth in every country. And when God commandeth the clouds to go over the whole world, they do as they are bidden. Yet the Babylonians will claim their gods can make the same thing happen. And the fire sent from above to consume the hills and woods doeth as it is commanded. But these are like unto them neither in shew nor power. Yet every time something like that happens, the Babylonians would have claimed that it was their gods responsible. Wherefore it is neither to be supposed nor said that they are gods, seeing they are neither to judge causes nor to do good unto men. You're just tearing yourself down. Knowing, therefore, that they are no gods, fear them not, for they can neither curse nor bless kings. Well, neither can yours. Neither can they shew signs in the heavens among the heathen, nor shine as the sun, nor give light as the moon. Yet all these things would be claimed by the Babylonians were they to happen. A comet would have been seen as a sign from one of their gods. The beasts are better than they, for they can get under a cover and help themselves. Makes no sense to me. It is then by no means manifest unto us that they are gods. Therefore, fear them not. And we can say the same thing about Jehovah. For as a scarecrow in a garden of cucumbers keepeth nothing, so are their gods of wood and laid over with silver and gold. Silver and gold, silver and gold. And likewise their gods of wood and laid over with silver and gold are like to a white thorn in an orchard that every bird sitteth upon, as also to a dead body that is east into the dark. That makes no sense whatsoever. Even if it's a typo and it's supposed to be that is eased into the dark, I just don't grasp what they're trying to get there. And ye shall know them to be no gods by the bright purple that rotteth upon them. And they themselves afterward shall be eaten, and shall be a reproach in the country. Well, Christians eat their God. Better, therefore, is the just man that hath none idols, for he shall be far from reproach. And that was that. So, to sum up, in short, that was a letter from Jeremy telling people, when you go to Babylon, don't worship their gods, all right? Because their gods ain't real. Unlike ours, which is totally real. We promise. So, since that was short, we'll go on to the next one, which also looks to be short. Prayer of Azariah. And they walked in the midst of the fire, praising God and blessing the Lord. Who? What fire? When? And where? Then Azarias stood up and prayed on this manner, and opening his mouth in the midst of the fire said, okay, who the fuck is Azariah? I gotta find out. Well, it says Azariah and then Azarias elsewhere. So, let's see here. Here we are. Abednego, I guess that's how it's pronounced, is the new name given to Azariah for whatever reason. Let me see. Pause this. Okay. Figured out part of it. In the book of Daniel, there's a tale of three kids who, well, not kids, but three young men, or youths, as it says, who refused to bow down and worship a god statue. So Nebuchadnezzar throws them in a furnace, and they're not burned. And looking into the furnace, Nebuchadnezzar can see a fourth figure, and so when they come out, so he has them brought out and says, oh, obviously these people are holy, blah, blah, blah. Now, what's hysterical is, years ago, I surfed into some program on the History Channel when it still sort of had some history on it. And they had a program, and I only caught part of it, with Dennis Weaver on it. And they were trying to scientifically prove the biblical miracles. And this was one of them that they did. And they, figured out, well, the furnace probably would have been this thing. And it basically would have been a giant square building with a door and no roof. And, the fire would have been started in the center of the furnace. And because of the way the computer model showed the air convection works in such a situation, if you stood in the corners of the building, you would be far enough away from the heat and in a cool spot that you could survive. And I'm watching this thinking, kind of doesn't make it a miracle if you can find a explanation for how this could work without modern day physics. With modern day physics. It would make more sense if they were, in the middle of the fire and not being burned at all. And it was just so funny because, so if, Dennis Weaver is there, he's looking at it and he says, so if science says this is possible, this is truly a miracle of God or some shit like that. And, I'm like, wow. Does Dennis need the money, or does he really believe this shit? Okay, I looked it up. The show was Ancient Secrets of the Bible, Part 2. Dennis Weaver didn't host Part 1 or Part 3 for some reason. Part 2 is notable because it features Aaron Eckhart, a.k.a. the guy who played Two-Face in The Dark Knight. Nobody else's name I recognize in the cast list. Although there's some gal who was in Iron Man 3, Jan Brodberg. I don't know. But, yeah, and they use Abednego, I guess that's how you pronounce the name, instead of Azaria. So that's where we are. They're in the middle of a fire because they wouldn't bow down before a statue. Blessed art thou. Then Azariah... Yeah, I don't remember if I read this or not. Then Azariah stood up and prayed on this manner, and opening his mouth in the midst of the fire, said... So this contradicts the whole Dennis Weaver thing where they're hiding in the corners. He's standing right in the middle of it. Blessed art thou, O God. Blessed art thou, O Lord God of our fathers. Thy name is worthy to be praised and glorified forevermore. For thou art righteous in all the things that thou hast done to us. Yea, true are all thy works. Thy ways are right, and all thy judgments truth. In all the things that thou hast brought upon us, and upon the holy city of our fathers, even Jerusalem, thou hast executed true judgment, for according to truth and judgment didst thou bring all these things upon us because of our sins. For we have sinned and committed iniquity, departing from thee. In all things have we trespassed and not obeyed thy commandments, nor kept them, neither done as thou hast commanded us, that it might go well with us. Wherefore all that thou hast brought upon us, and everything that thou hast done to us, thou hast done in true judgment. That's right. We deserved everything. We deserved to be raped, murdered, and enslaved, because we just wouldn't kiss your ass. And thou didst deliver us into the hands of lawless enemies, most hateful forsakers of God, and to an unjust king, and the most wicked in all the world. I wonder, did he send his prospective son-in-law out to collect a whole bunch of foreskins? I'm thinking he didn't. And now we cannot open our mouths. We are become a shame and reproach to thy servants, and to them that worship thee. Yet here you are, babbling away in the middle of a fire. Yet deliver us not up wholly for thy name's sake, neither disannul thou thy covenant. Disannul, I guess that's the word, which means what? Cancel your covenant. So don't stop beating us when we're bad, God. We don't want that. And cause not thy mercy to depart from us, for thy beloved Abraham's sake, for thy servant Isaac's sake, and for thy holy Israel's sake, to whom thou hast spoken and promised that thou wouldst multiply their seed as the stars of heaven, and as the sand that lieth upon the seashore. For we, O Lord, are become less than any nation, and be kept under this day in all the world because of our sins. Neither is there at this time prince or prophet or leader or burnt offering or sacrifice or oblation or incense or place to sacrifice before thee and to find mercy. So, well, God, as soon as we get the stuff, we'll do it, but we can't because we got no place to do the stuff, man. You got to give it back. Nevertheless, in a contrite heart and an humble spirit, let us be accepted. So, we don't have all these things, but you'll still take us back, right? And which makes you wonder, well, then why the hell do you have to do those things to begin with? Like as in the burnt offerings of rams and bullocks, and like as in 10,000s of fat lambs, so let our sacrifice be in thy sight this day, and grant that we may wholly go after thee. For they shall not be confounded that put their trust in thee. And now we follow thee with all our heart. We fear thee and seek thy face. Put us not to shame, but deal with us after thy loving kindness and according to the multitude of thy mercies. Deliver us also according to thy marvelous works, and give glory to thy name, O Lord, and let all them that do thy servants hurt be ashamed. You don't have to kill them or anything, but just make them feel a little bad about it. And let them be confounded in all their power and might, and let their strength be broken. Well, that took a real long time. And let them know that thou art God, the only God, and glorious over the whole world. And here's something that just occurred to me, okay? We know that the Jews have no problem making up a bullshit story about their escape from Egypt. They never escaped. They were probably never there in large numbers to begin with. And the archaeological evidence is such that we know none of it happened. Yet when they're released from the Babylonian captivity, instead of having it be this giant miracle of God with the seas parting and all these other fantastical things, it's that the king of Babylon just said, you know what? Go home. Here's a bunch of stuff. Rebuild your temple and enjoy yourself. So why don't the Jews have a big myth about them leaving Babylon? Okay, they do have a little thing about God changing or whatever, but it's nowhere near the epic kind of scale that Exodus is. You would think that they would want to, this dramatic thing, God appearing or an angel in a pillar of fire and all that. But no, they don't, at least not as far as the Apocrypha is concerned. I don't remember what the Bible discusses about it. Why would it be like that? And the only thing that makes sense to me is that they couldn't really mythologize it because at the time they were writing things down, too many people knew the actual truth. Now, according to Doan in the Bible Myths and Their Parallels in Other Religions, where he talks about, he states that there is an account of a rabbi or a priest rushing out into the the king's chamber and saying, I have discovered this remarkable work. And this was, the books Moses written, the first 5 books of the Bible. And, they were supposedly 500 years old or something like that. And Doan points out that it's really hard to read a language that's 500 years old, especially when you have one that was so changeable and variable as Hebrew was at that time. And that is roughly about the time of the end of the Babylonian captivity. And I know Doan says that a lot of the tales and myths in the Pentateuch obviously came from things that they had heard and seen during their time in Babylon, like the Tower of Babel. So, if we assume that's correct, and I have no reason to think it isn't, although I'm sure there's some finer points of detail I'm missing, that would mean the reason there was no big grand escape from Babylon was because there were so many people alive who were familiar with what actually happened that they didn't dare sex it up. Alrighty, back to the text. I babbled enough. And now we follow thee with all our heart. We fear thee and seek thy face. Put us not to shame, but deal with us after thy loving kindness according to the multitude of thy mercies. Please don't beat us, Master Yahweh. Deliver us also according to thy marvelous works, and give glory to thy name, O Lord. And let all them that do thy servants harm be ashamed. And the king's servants that put them in cease not to make the oven hot with rosin, pitch, tow, which I have no idea what they could be, and I'm not going to try to look that up, and small wood, so that the flame streamed forth above the furnace 49 cubits. How long is a cubit? I forget. I think it's like a yard. It's 1.5 feet. So 32.666 repeating decibel. That's the sign of Satan. And it passed through and burned those Chaldeans it found about the furnace. But the angel of the Lord came down into the oven together with Azarias and his fellows, and smote the flame of the fire out of the oven, and made the midst of the furnace as it had been a moist whistling wind, so that the fire touched them not at all, neither hurt nor troubled them. Then the three, as out of one mouth, praised, glorified, and blessed God in the furnace, saying, Blessed art thou, O Lord God of our fathers, and to be praised and exalted above all forever. And blessed is thy glorious and holy name, and to be praised and exalted above all forever. Blessed art thou in the temple of thine holy glory, and to be praised and glorified above all forever. Blessed art thou that beholdest the depths, and sittest upon the cherubims. And I believe we figured out, Doan said that those were dragons. Let's just look that up. Oh, wait a minute. I want a good... There we go. Do-do-do. Yeah, it depends on what part of the Bible you're looking at. They could be humans, or they could be some kind of winged animal, like a dragon or a winged lion. And to be praised and exalted above all forever. Blessed art thou on thy glorious throne of thy kingdom, and to be praised and glorified above all forever. All ye works of the Lord, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. O ye heavens, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. And boy, am I now sick of that phrase, and we just getting started. O ye angels of the Lord, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. Man, this is some great literature, right? Man, the Bible is just beautiful poetry. Oh, all ye waters that be above the heaven, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. Man, I'm just now hearing this country song, you know, do above all forever, do. Sorry. Gotta do something, because this is tedious, folks. It's worse for me than it is for you, because you're only hearing this after I've edited out all my fuck-ups. O ye powers of the Lord, bless ye the Lord, and exalt him above all forever. Really? So, God has the power of lightning. Lightning should bless God. O ye sun and moon, bless ye the Lord, and praise him and exalt him above all forever. O ye stars of heaven, bless ye the Lord, and praise and exalt him above all forever. Above all forever. Jesus. O every shower and dew, bless ye the Lord, and praise and exalt him above all forever. I really need to learn how to do the preacher's voice from The Simpsons. This is the kind of shit that he would read. O all ye winds, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. O ye fire and heat, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. You know what? Fuck this. Fuck this. This is just a list of different things. And they're going, O ye whatever, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. I am not reading all of this. It is a dozen or more lines. I'm not reading it, folks. I'll drop you a link to this shit in the show notes so you can read it if you want. But man, I ain't reading all that. I'm gonna skip down to past that, which is nearly the end of the book. O Ananias, Azarias, and Mizabel, bless ye the Lord, and praise and exalt him above all forever. For he hath delivered us from hell, and saved us from the hand of death, and delivered us out of the midst of the furnace and burning flame. Even out of the midst of the fire hath he delivered us. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, because he is gracious, for his mercy endureth forever. Oh, all ye that worship the Lord, bless the God of gods. So they're acknowledging other gods. Praise him and give him thanks, for his mercy endureth forever. Yeah. That is fucking that. So, to sum up this book, it's a recounting of the prayer that Azariah or Abednego, or however you want to pronounce his name or call him, made while he was supposedly being burned, which of course we know did not happen. Joy. Hopefully the next book we read will be better than that. And for those of you wondering, we are about 2/3 of the way through. And the next one's real short. And then the one after that is also real short. Wow. That's interesting. So we'll be banging these out in no time, and then I am gonna have to go and start. I gotta figure out which one. I know I'm gonna do either the Dead Sea Scrolls or the Nag Hammadi Library next, but I'm not sure which one. So I need to check on that so I can prep and be prepared.
That's it for this episode of The Atheist in the Trailer Park Podcast. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, as well as just about anywhere else podcasts can be found. Many of the episodes are also on YouTube. Follow the show on Twitter. @TParkAtheist is the show's Twitter handle. It's on Facebook at facebook.com/trailerparkatheist.com. If you happen to like the podcast, please rate it on iTunes. If you'd like to support the podcast, there's a donate button on the show notes page. You can support it via Patreon at patreon.com/TNTucker. Thanks for listening.
Say goodnight, Fosnots.
All I know is this violates every canon of respectable broadcasting.
Damned cat.